now we're gonna dilute this down a little bit more to the consistency of sour cream so we can actually run it through the Fast LIL Taper. This is way too thick. That's great for the top. If you want to use it for topping, you can, even though it's got more glue in it. It's a little harder to sand later on, but it's a good mix for now. Now we're ready to tape. With the Fast LIL Taper, we have to dilute our taping compound, our all-purpose compound, down to the consistency of sour cream. Now I like to use a low bucket like this. It's easier to get into. That's good enough. Throw a little bit of water in here. And again, you want it like sour cream. Now this is the same texture that you would have in a professional machine. You want to mix that up really well. No puddles of water in there or anything like that. Mix it down really well. Now if it's a hot day in the summertime, you're going to want to keep an eye on this, because this will dry out on you. And it's essential that the tape go through it. I think that's got it right there. We want to just wipe the edge off of there. And that's about what you want right there. That kind of consistency. Not quite fallen, but it's very loose like that. Now, here's a 250-foot roll of tape. You don't want to get the 500. It's too bulky for what we're doing, and it's not going to save you any time or money. You go ahead and put this on here like this, and you can tear off as much tape as you need. An added advantage to the Fast LIL Taper 2 is not only does it hold the reel of drywall tape, but you can use it afterwards or beforehand for masking or painting later on. We've pre-mixed our mud to the consistency of sour cream, and that will enable us to go through the Fast LIL Taper and leave just enough compound from these teeth and this opening to adhere to the drywall joints and give you the finished drywall taping job that you're really looking for. So next, what we're gonna do is tear off as much tape as we can handle. Now, once you put drywall compound on here, it's gonna be a lot heavier. You have two options of tearing this tape off. You can fold it, crease it like this. The drywall taper will be in your right hand most of the time. And if you'll just crease it like that, you can tear it. Or you can pull off what you think you're gonna need, hold it with your finger, put the drywall knife behind it, and tear it off. And it's a real nice clean. But the most that you want to use is about 4 feet. Once you pull the tape off and load it with the compound, it's just too heavy. It'll start sagging on you. Feed it through the Fast LIL Taper fence teeth, and we hold it down with our thumb, and we submerge it into about 1 inch past the actual tooth or the finger itself, on the inside finger. So about that deep. And then we slowly pull that through. And what you want to do is constantly check to make sure that the tape comes out like this all the time with those grooves in it. Now, what the Fast LIL Taper does is put more in the center so it'll penetrate the joints better. Then you wipe off the excess. We hold it down, same as before. If you set this in more of the center of the bucket, you'll get all the compound you want. And you can see that it's, I'm gonna get my hand out of the way, you can see how much is coming out on that. That's a lot of compound. It's okay. What we always do now is start with the corners. Now, what the Fast LIL Taper does is put more in the center so it'll penetrate the joints better. And because we put it on that crease side, we take it right over to the corner and we walk it down in the center of the joint with our fingers to the end of the tape. And we'll go back and smooth out about 1 foot at a time on either side of a corner so you're walking it consistently. And of course you want to make sure it squeezes out the other end. Then you make a cleanup pass each time later. So now we're going to take another piece and we're going to go down this about half that distance. And again, you can either tear it, and I'm going to do that for you right now. You can crease it. Again, we want it down so the corners down, that crease. We take our Fast LIL Taper, we feed it through, hold it down about off. And again, we're gonna turn this upside down. So we have this part of the tape that came out has all the compound on it. That was the last part. The first 2 or 3 inches doesn't have any compound on it. So we're gonna put this, we're gonna butt it right up next to that other tape, walk it down with our fingers, center it right in the joint, come back and smooth that out about a foot at a time. If you see any wrinkles, if you see any bubbles, stop and smooth them out right now. This is gonna save you though so much time over pre-mudding the joint by hand and then trying to embed the tape into it. So now we continue tearing our tape. Make sure that the crease is on the inside, on the bottom. We feed that through. We hold it down, same as before. If you set this in more of the center of the bucket, you'll get all the compound you want. And you can see that it's, I'm gonna get my hand out of the way, you can see how much is coming out on that. That's a lot of compound. It's okay, it'll smooth out. This is the one that we want all the way in the bottom. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get them in the corners. Okay, so you feed that in there like that. Now, the same thing. Go about a foot at a time, but on the bottom you want to come up. You don't want to go down. Because this is going to be a common occurrence with the device. I'm going to take that overlap out in a minute. If I went down this way, I'd hit the deck first. And you don't want that. You want to come all the way up. Make a cleanup pass. Now you see where that overlapped? We're gonna do this outside corner bead. Now in this case, again, the last part that came out, I want to put that up on the top. And when you place it on the corner bead, don't put it over the corner of the metal bead itself. Put it right up to the corner. You'll feel it, you know what it is right here. And you'll just take your knife and put it, again, not on the actual corner, but right next to the corner. Because what you're doing is forcing the compound into all those little holes on the side, and it'll help to bind that to the wall a lot better. So I'm going to continue this all the way down, and it's going to take 2 more pieces, so I think I'll just divide it in half. Or the compound is not dry enough. Again, making sure that I have compound on the back, wipe off the blade. This one goes all the way down to the bottom. And work up now, because you won't have the room. It's all right, we'll just bring this up a little bit, butt that, just like that. So now on this butt joint, and they work the same way as, well, a lot of them do. I cut the tape to the distance between here and here. When you tape into a tapered joint like that, it's okay if the tape should overlap. Again, because you've got 3 or 4 layers going back on top of this. Okay, and this is another time that you want to put this at the top. Go end for end. Change your hands. Same thing, center it on the joint, walk it down with your fingers, control the application, go back to the top, squeeze out that extra, take another cleanup bucket here. And I want to start this one from the bottom and center it on both of those joints and walk it up. So on taper joints, horizontal taper joints, what we want to do is, again, hold about 3 to 4 feet of the tape. But remember now you're fighting gravity. Now this is a classic case again of the compound coming out on this end, but not on this end. So we put this one to this joint right here, this corner. We want to butt that right up to it and walk it with our fingers. Start from this end and smooth it out. If you see any bubbles, if you see any wrinkles, stop and adjust for those. Pick the tape up if you have to and start it over. Now this was the repair we did earlier. Same thing, we want to take the part that came out last and butt it up to this one. Center it on the joint as we're walking it with our fingers. Go past our repair here. Come back to this intersection, make sure they don't overlap. And then squeeze the excess tape out. Don't over squeeze. You will push too much of the compound out no matter how the compound got on the wall, whether you put it on there first or use the Fast LIL Taper or any other professional mechanical device, you can still squeeze out too much compound. You have to establish how much of the tape with the compound on it you can stretch out with your arms because you're fighting gravity. Watch, let me show you. But watch when I stretch it out. You see how heavy it is? It wants to fall because on this horizontal joint, you're fighting gravity. So you establish it right on the center. Continue to walk it with your fingers. And slowly squeeze it out. Not taking out too much. You'll see how much pressure it takes. Now right here, I'm gonna tear that, and I want you to see how much compound is under there. It's a real good amount. See how it filled that crack, that joint in right here? So we want to center it again. Take another pass, squeeze out any excess. You might even want to take another pass to clean it up off the edge. We walk up to this corner, and we center it, and we walk it, and we guide it down here onto this intersection of this tape. Now we're going to smooth this out. Another cleanup pass. And again, you don't have to worry about all this right here because you're going to have 3 more coats. You don't even have to sand this.
Okay, so I wanted to illustrate whatever you leave behind as far as extra compound, you get the privilege of taking it off. If you want to sand it off, that's fine, but that creates a lot of dust. So what I like to do is, this is not normally how smooth this would be, but I wanted to illustrate using a sponge as a sanding method because it'll smooth that out and still feather it. Even though this is just the first coat, you're gonna have 3 more coats possibly on this that'll get smooth, but you can use this a lot and it'll keep the dust down in the environment, and it does a really good job. So you don't want a whole lot of water on the sponge. It just has to be moist enough to where it will absorb the extra compound and smooth it out, but you don't want to be rubbing it off. You don't want to be tearing it off. You just want to be smoothing it down a little bit. And again, if you were using your 6-inch knife with the Fast LIL Taper, so when we smooth this out, you can do this on all the layers.
So while you're doing sealing work, you're going to do that on a ladder. And by having the bucket up here like this, you don't have to get up and down as much to get more tape as leaving it on the floor. Do as much area as you can on the ladder at one time. Then when you get down, you don't have to move the ladder as many times. So get all the corners, get all the flat joints, get all the butt joints, anything you can up here. It'll save your life. And it needs to be smashed a little bit, so I'm using the Fast LIL Taper denting tool. Notice I'm not overextending. Now again, we grab the end that came out of the Fast LIL Taper last and butt it up against this corner that was already done. Walk it. Now it's gonna really wanna fall on you from gravity. And now we just smooth that out. You're looking for wrinkles.
or you're looking for any kind of bubbles underneath, just do a quick cleanup pass.
And we
Move
could
the
do
ladder into the
these
next
and we could do
position.
these.
So I can go up and do my next one. Do I need to use the tape or the Fast LIL Taper denting tool here? Yes, I do a little bit. And that really does a good job. And we butt that right up to the other one. Again, walk it with your fingers. Smooth it out, get any air bubbles out, look for any wrinkles, and you're done. I think that's about it for now. You've seen enough. If you have any questions, you can probably reach us through the website or through the email address that's on it.